I gotta wait. How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
Welcome to the stand, where Miss Dreme always has a story.
I'm Dreme, a black woman with many beautiful interconnecting identities. A few I will name at this moment as we get started on this podcast journey together. A Bostonian, born and raised in the inner city, Dorchester and Roxbury neighborhoods, to a teenage single mother who has my whole heart. An educator, I've been working with youth and children since my teenage years, and formally, I have been teaching almost a decade now. That's wild to think about. An entrepreneur, I am the founder of The Chair, a black and brown centered tech platform dedicated to supporting people on their hair journey, where you can design hairboards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a more joyous experience. I have a workable site, my prototype. It took me 2 years to build, and now I'm on this adventure that you're currently on with me. My goal for this podcast is to share stories, black stories, educator stories, entrepreneurship stories, and hair stories. I want you to leave each episode with the opportunity to gain new insight, just a glimpse into my world or the worlds that are featured on my podcasts, a little chuckle during your day or night, possibly a little anger to encourage you to advocate for justice, and hope to continue learning and dreaming. So come in and listen to the beautiful voices in the chair as they share their stories, starting with me.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Hey everyone, this is Kat. Kat, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Kat. I am from Boston originally, but I'm now based in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I have a lot of identities. I don't really like to talk about work as the first thing that comes up to describe myself. So I'll describe myself more as my passions, which are underwater photography and traveling for the most part. And I guess that kind of ties into what I do because I built a travel company starting from those passions. But I think professionally, I'm trained as a software engineer, and I was a software engineer for 7 years until I left that job last year. And now I'm kind of just trying to figure out what to do full time while also traveling for fun and running my company on the side.
And how did you fall in love with underwater photography? How did that start?
So I started scuba diving 10 years ago. I was living in LA for a summer interning, and I kind of just wanted to spend my free time learning as many different things as possible. So that summer, on the weekends, I learned how to scuba dive and skydive and hang glide. And scuba diving ended up being the one that I stuck with the most because as a kid, I always loved marine life. I would check out every book in the library on dolphins and whales. And so I've always loved underwater animals, and getting to dive really opened my mind to what kinds of things you can see. But I kind of just dove recreationally for 5 years or so. It wasn't until I did a trip where I was actually on an ice diving trip in Russia.
Wow.
And I just had a GoPro. And I thought the videos I was taking were amazing. And there are these people on this trip with these big underwater camera rigs. And I saw what they captured, and it absolutely blew my mind. And I went home and I was like, I want to learn how to capture images like that. And so that was what encouraged me to buy gear. But then I was on a trip to Florida where I was just starting out. I was doing a little bit of photography, and I met all these underwater photographers who were they really took me under their wing, and they didn't even know me, but they were so nice. And they wanted to teach me, and they wanted to help me out when I was just starting. And so they really became my underwater photography family. And I'm really grateful to them for teaching me so much of what I know. And now I visit Florida a lot to hang out with them.
Oh, that's cool. I took a scuba diving lesson first time a year ago when I was in South Africa, and I thought, I was like, oh, I love to swim. This is obviously the next step. I need to be a scuba diver. And my first lesson, Kat, went terribly.
What happened?
I was like, why can't I swim? Why can't I breathe? Why is everything so heavy? I'm turning myself in circles. My oxygen is going really fast. And the guy was like, yo, you gotta relax. I was like, I am relaxed. And He was like, you are not relaxed. And I was like, okay, I'm committed. And he was like, yeah, I don't think we should move on. And I was like, I don't want to move on either to the next level, because we started in the pool.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, you do the pool, because there were 4 of us. They were like, okay, we do the pool for about 35 minutes and then we'll go to the ocean. And I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
easy. And the only requirement was that you just had to know how to swim. And I was like, oh, I got that.
Yeah.
And then so they were like, I don't think you can swim. And I was like, don't insult me. I know how to swim. I said, hey, can I just talk to you after? Like, I stayed after, and I was like, hey, I want to figure this out. So I took like 3 more just in the pool just to just work on the breathing part. And that was the most difficult thing. I still didn't master it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is very non-intuitive to like breathe totally through your mouth and to have your nose blocked. So, and a lot of people get really claustrophobic when they are put in that environment.
Yeah, that wasn't the problem for me. It was definitely the breathing. But once I had a few moments where it worked, the silence underneath the water, and then, you know, all I had was to look at he had hot pink fins, and he was like, look at the pink fins. And I was like, oh, this is beautiful. I bet this is what it feels like when you're doing it in the actual ocean.
I think of it more, well, because I'm doing photography. So now that's like, I'm a very goal-oriented person. I need to have like a goal in mind to want to do something. So as much as I'd love to be the kind of person who loves to dive for the sake of diving, I can't do it. I get really bored. So I have to dive for the sake of photography. I have to have a subject I want to photograph or something I want to capture for me to want to go on that dive. So in my mind, I think I could be relaxed if I wanted to, but it's really just, how do I get the shot that I want? How do I put myself in the right environment? It teaches me a lot of patience, because I can wait for like an hour to get that shot, but it's never like head empty, like meditation.
Yeah. Favorite animal you've gotten underwater?
I think in terms of the best experiences I've had underwater, it would have to be either with sperm whales or with southern right whales, because both of them they can be like very interactive. The calves especially, they'll just come right up to you, and like you have to get out of their way because they're like so curious that they really want to come play. And a lot of types of whales can be very interactive, but for me personally, the experiences I have had that were the best were with sperm whales and southern right whales.
That's amazing.
But it's also, it really makes you appreciate like the power of wildlife and how you're in their space, and you have to really respect them. And anything can always go wrong if you're not respecting the environment that you're in. Not to say that we weren't, being respectful, but like things can always happen, and it's not necessarily the animal's fault, or it's not necessarily like, anyone's fault, other than you have to be fully aware of the situation you're in.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Look, it's my commercial. We will be right back.
It's more than just a bad hair day. It's a journey. Finding the right hairstyle isn't easy, nor is finding the right stylist or the right products. Looking in every corner of the web gets messy, overwhelming, and exhausting. All the ads, the articles, the products, the videos, it shouldn't be this hard, but it is. And now, it isn't. The Chair. A black and brown centered platform where you can design hairboards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a new, joyful path on your hair journey. Avoid the clutter, save yourself hours, months, and even years of research and poor trial and error. Everything you need and only what you need is in one place. Hairboards made by people like you, for you. Find the right products, the right people, the right answers for you, stress-free. Join the Chair community and make every day a great hair day. When you share your pain, you allow others to help you. And when you share your success, you help others get theirs. Lean on the Chair. We got you. No stress, no strife. In the chair. The chair. The chair. All right.
Oh, And if you're interested to learn more about my experiences as a Black woman and educator in Guangzhou, China, I wrote my first ebook titled Nowhere and Everywhere, Capture the Emotions of a Beautifully Broken Love Story. It is on lulu.com. Take a read and see some beautiful photography of mine. Enjoy the rest of the show. So, Kat and I met in high school, and the one thing I will always remember about you in high school was the fact that you were always doing a different activity that no one else was doing. You signed the paper to do dance class outside of school instead of doing the activities that we had in
Well, that's
school.
because the other option was sports, and I hated sports. So
yeah.
I was not going to do any damn sports.
and so
I had to do something else.
and so Kat was always been like, I got something else to do. So for me, you deciding to be like, yeah, I'm gonna hang out and take all these beautiful photos, also possibly be eaten by a whale. Casual. Just like it's just like it still fits. It's the same thought.
I think what's always like driven me is kind of just new experiences in general. And however that kind of presents itself, it doesn't have to be something super wild and crazy. It could just be like going on a new hike or something. But I want to always be, I don't know, I think I just get bored really easily. Like I always want to be doing something that I haven't done before. Otherwise, I'm like not motivated.
Like I have things on my bucket list that I slowly check off. And every time I see your photography, I'm like, yo, some of these things I'm adding to my bucket list. Like,
no, I was gonna say like that's how I think it always goes, right? Because like I don't even call it a bucket list because I know my list of things I want to do is like 120 pages long.
Same. And
I know I'm never gonna get through all of them, so I don't call it a bucket list.
Okay.
It kind of drives me knowing that there's always going to be something more that I want to do, and it's like I take a lot of things off there every year, but every time I meet people and every time I see what other people are doing, and every time I like look on the internet, I'm always finding new things that look exciting. Yes. So I'm adding things much quicker than I can knock them off, and I think that's really cool. Because what would be the point if you get through the whole list? Then what are you going to do?
Valid. Just got to keep adding. What was the most recent thing that you've done that was a beautiful new experience for you?
I was in Indonesia on a trip that I actually won in a photography competition. And so it wasn't, which is different for me because since it's a sponsored trip, I don't go into it necessarily with a goal in mind. Like if I'm paying for a trip, I want to make sure I'm getting my money's worth. You know, there's a specific type of animal I want to photograph or something. So this was the first time I'd gone on a trip where I was just like, I'm going to see what happens. If I get cool photos, nice. If not, whatever, at least I'll have a good time. Like it's a sponsored trip. So I'm just going to take it as it goes. And so, well, I hadn't really let myself do that in a long time. And it was kind of nice to kind of not have a specific goal in mind and to kind of just like see what came up. But one of the things that did come up that was very unusual that I hadn't before was there was one day we stopped by to scuba dive with whale sharks. And I've swum with whale sharks multiple times before, but this was the first time I had seen sharks truly want to, or it was one shark that truly wanted to actually interact with divers. Most of the times before, the sharks, they kind of just like ignore divers. If they're eating, they're eating. If they're swimming, they're swimming. Like if you're in their way, like they're not going to get out of your way. They'll still bump into you, but they're not going to come and try to actually interact with you. But there was one shark in this area who kept like swimming up to divers and kind of like playing with them and like opening his mouth and like chasing after them. And I don't know what he was thinking or what he was trying to do. Like he knows he can't eat a diver, but it was just like very interesting to see this shark get so excited by these divers and like come after me. And like he was like swimming around, like chasing me around in circles, like opening and closing his mouth. I've just never seen that behavior before. And it was probably like, it's always a cool interaction when an animal wants to interact with you and they're doing it out of their own accord. So it was definitely like a special experience in that way.
Oh, I like that. Indonesia is definitely on my list. I think the last animal interaction I had, I was in South Africa, Plettenberg Bay. There was like a 5,000 colony of seals, and you would just swim up to them and they said, hey, the adult seals stay on the rock. They just look. The teenagers will swim around you in like a really big circle, and then the babies when they see you, they're going to want to pull at your fins. And I was like, they're kidding, right? Right. And so you just get in the water and you just swim and you just see thousands and thousands of seals. The seal did come up and it was pulling at my fin. I was like, oh my goodness, they're pulling at my fin. Like this guy was not like, and another one was just like swimming in between my legs, just having a good old time. And I was just like, this is so beautiful. Yeah. Also, I am terrified.
Yeah, they're super cute.
Right? But the seals was put in my mind when I saw a couple of your photos. You have some beautiful animals just hanging out. And I'm like, man, Kat is getting really close to these animals to take these photos like that.
That's why I like underwater photography more than land-based photography, because with underwater photography specifically, you have to get really close to your subject to photograph it because of just the limitations of photographing underwater. You have to be close in order to get a clear shot. When you're on land, you can be like, well, if you had a lens long enough, you could be, 100 feet away from your subject and still get a clear shot if you had a long enough lens. But underwater, you don't have that because there's so much particulate in the water, and the further you're away from something, the less of it you can see, that you have to kind of be within a few feet of your subject to be able to properly capture it. Even if the visibility is decent, you still want to be as close as possible. And so it kind of builds this environment where you end up with much more personal interactions than you usually do with wildlife on land.
Well, Kat, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts in the chair. Like, I truly appreciate you coming on and just sharing. Like, oh, I miss you. It's been so long.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. It was really nice to get to talk to you.
Yes.
It's been a long time.
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dreme always has a story.
Thank you for listening to an episode of The Chair. I, of course, would love your continued support. Let me know what you think of this episode by doing all the things. Subscribe, comment, and come back next week, every week. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. Or if you are like me, enjoy that moonlight and that one star under all your city lights. Love you. Talk to you later.
The chair.
How long I gotta wait for it to press record?
Go.
We support her. Shit.
Do your...
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dreme always has a story. Where we share stories in the chair.